Hello guys, what's up? I hope you are doing well. I'm being very busy these last days. I changed my machine. That's why I'm not gonna show 3D Max today because I don't have it on my machine. I have to install it. And I'm just running now. I installed Blender OBS and I'm starting to record something for you because it's something that it was coming to my mind and I think it's very useful as well. I'm focused most of my videos. We will always focus in minor things, details that are really interesting, and people struggling a lot using it in Blender. The people are coming from 3D Max. That's why I'm not showing something. I'm not gonna be showing frequently things that Blender used to do, amazing things that Blender used to do. It's just production wise important tools and things that people struggle with. And today we are gonna talk about something in which people struggle with. People try to use Blender and then the first thing they look for, at least in my area, is layers. How can they save their render layers automatically? Like 3D Max, you go to elements and then you save all the layers. You select the elements, white, color, reflection, depending on the render engine you are using. If you are using V-Ray, you choose V-Ray reflection, raw reflection, whatever, or Corona, another render engine. You can choose whatever pass you need, and those passes are very necessary for most of the pipelines in Archviz because they use a compositor to establish the proper balance. Who doesn't work with EXR, we work with TIFF or whatever structure of render layers in the past, and then they play around it. I think that this is something that everyone is always looking for, and it's hard to do, right? It's hard to work on this area without it. That's what I'm trying to say. And first thing, people go to Blender, they don't know how to save the passes, right? Because let's go to this guy. I'm gonna show you. If you go here, which is the tab that Blender has to save the things, right? You have just the output to save something, right? Or one image or one animation or whatever. Cheers, by the way. And you don't have the options here. You have the format. You want to save TIFF, Targa, PNG, JPG, but you don't have the passes. The passes in Blender, I have created this stupid scene, 2 Suzannes, 1 cone, and 1 plane, just to show you how to do that. Right? That's the purpose of this tutorial, because this is very important, as I said. Let's go to action. I'm not going to take that long. Okay, you have here in this tab you have the passes, right? So if you press passes, you will see all the passes here, right? You have the mist, you have the normal, you have the vector, UV, whatever. You don't use that much these. Maybe this mist is important as well, because mist is the distance from the camera, right? So the depth of field, then you can use that for atmospheric effects. For sometimes some people like to use it for establish the depth of field, the bokeh lens, so it can create the focus lens, right? And those are the passes that you are most likely using. Diffuse, indirect, color. Let's evaluate all of it. Glossy, direct, indirect color, transmission, indirect. This transmission is related to the light. It's the light. It's the same as the AGI, right? We call it in Blender transmission, right? It's not exactly the AGI. Right. This is mostly related to refractive objects or translucency, right? Translucent objects, right? The light is more related to diffuse, direct, indirect, and color, right? But this has to do as well a little bit with the lighting, right? But the AGI it's mostly here. Volume, the atmospheric effects, I'm not gonna push this now. Emission for emissive materials, environment for the surroundings, shadow, of course shadows, and ambient occlusion, right? And you most likely to habilitate that as well if you want to use the optics, the noise, which is a new feature, relatively new. It comes on Blender 2.82, and I think everyone is using. If you are not using this, probably you are struggling with the old noisy, which is this guy I installed on 2.8. This was a package made by I forgot the coder, and he creates this is really good, but I think this and this are the same. This was incorporated to this, right? But I never uninstalled, so it's still here. But I'm not sure, I'm not sure. I'm giving information like grayish information. Yeah. So right now, let's go to action. I'm talking too much today. I think it's the beer. I think it's the beer. Okay, in Blender what happens? For you to save that, let's start as if you have nothing like this. So for you to open a new tab, you go here at the very top right in Blender or left, doesn't matter, and you press and you drag, to open a new tab, and then you go here and then I'll select whatever you want. For example, dub sheet for animation, timeline, graphic editor, 3D viewport, another 3D viewport, which is what we have now, image editor, UV. What you want now is the compositor. You want to play around with the compositor because that's where you're gonna define when you're gonna save your render passes. Forget this. This is for animation, and you are gonna forget it for now. Okay, in order to save the pass, Blender work with nodes, and it's gonna work even more with nodes in the next release, because the plan of Blender Foundation is create a package. Blender will be node based, right? We will have the same tools that we have now and the possibility of playing around with nodes for most of the tasks, like particle system, like procedural modeling, lots of things, like kind of Houdini style, but with a Blender altogether, right? And this coming, the next versions are still implemented. They will be implemented in that. I think firstly on the particle system, which they have some already, and then it goes to physics and all that. Okay, let's go out of topic. I'm very good on that. I'm going on off topic. Okay, to create a node to save the file, the passes, you press Shift A, right? And then you go for your output. So this means that you're gonna deliver something, right? You're gonna save something out of it. So file output, right? This is the guy. This is the main guy where you're gonna save the passes. So you put here on your node, right? And then you connect it. So right now you have this guy. Okay, what is that? This is for defining which folder you are gonna save it, right? If you press N, you're gonna open this tab here, like everything in Blender. N, open this tab, and T, this tab, and hide T, hide, and hide. The same thing here, right? And N for here. So that's your file output. So you name it, let's say whatever, save passes, and then you label it. You label this guy. You see, save passes, and then you go to properties, right? You have your image. So basically your pass is this, just this, right? Image. So you will, this is the format you want it. You basically will define the folder here. Let's put on, let's create on my desktop something. New folder, passes. You choose the folder, right? And then you will add inputs. You add as much as inputs you wanted, right? And then you will name it then, just to be organized. Let's say, I'm not gonna do for everything because it's gonna be boring, right? Let me delete some. I will just, this is just for the sake of demonstration, right? It doesn't necessarily needs to be all of these passes. You choose and you define whatever you use in your composition. Okay, right now you go into each of these and then you will remove them. You will remove them. That is basically you goes doing this. I'm gonna do just with 4. It's enough to see what's gonna happen. Okay, you go here, image 1, define, let's say you wanna save shadows. This you're gonna say the AO, ambient occlusion. These you're gonna save the gloss direct. It's a kind of reflection. Let's see, direct, reflection, direct. And this one we're gonna save diffuse indirect, right? So let's put this guy up because here in order it's gonna be easier to organize it, right? And then you go here, shadows, you connect your shadows, AO, you connect your AO, diffuse indirect, you connect indirect, and reflection, what else? What is the name of it? Reflection direct, you connect, right? So you have your setup already. You just render and it's likely to save it. Let's do a test, quick test here, right? Let's do a quick test here. Let's press F2. But I'm gonna create, just because I like it, I'm gonna create the denoise filter. I'm gonna put it here, normals, albedo. It's not necessary, I'm creating just to have a noisy free image at the end of the day, right? Let's press F2 and see how it's gonna be. Rendering. It's almost that I wouldn't need the denoise, but anyway, let's see how it's gonna be denoised. And then denoise it. Image denoise. Come on, denoise. See? Denoise. The reason you didn't see this here because this was set up for you see the composite, not precisely what did you save. What did you save is here, right? So now let's go there to the folder and check it out. See if it works. Here you go. We have the passes here, reflection, shadows. So pretty much whatever you define here is gonna be saved there, right? I would recommend you, first of all, if you don't want to struggle with it anymore, I would recommend you, right? Once you are creating your default scene in Blender, let's say that you are creating your default scene. Let's create a cube. Okay. Let's say this is your default scene, right? This is your default scene. I'm gonna go into scene later. Scene, view layer. This is something very, very powerful, right? But this is not the topic of it. I would say for you to do not struggle with that every time you create a project doing the same thing, right? Because that's probably what you are asking now, what you are wondering now. I will create this basic, name it, right? Connecting all of it, and then I would save this as a Blender. Let's do this test here just for you to see, right, how it's gonna be. We save this as a list here, save startup file, right? Save startup file, right? Okay, you save your startup file. Next time you open Blender, whatever project you are going to open, your structure will be there. You know, you have your structure already. You don't need to create this again and name it everything. You have this. You start your scene from scratch with all of this set it up already, right? But if you don't want to save something or define something to save every time, right, you can always start like this, but you have your node here already connected, and you start to create your scene. By the time that you want to save, the same thing. You go to 3D Max element and you start to choose the elements you want to save, right? You just go here and you start to connect shadow, image, you know, AO, differ, you know, the same thing. And in this case, it's gonna be even faster. It's gonna be even faster because you don't need to go there to the elements on 3D Max and choose. It's here, it's very visual, right? You go to reflect direct, you know it's here, right? You don't need to look into a list of passes to find your pass, right? And probably you are asking me, okay, but the most important pass, wire color, how can I save the wire color? The wire color is something that you can do here and choosing, let's say, this is one of the material, this is another material, right? Let's say that you have your surface, which is what you are gonna see on a render. This is the material, and you have a viewport display. This is most likely the ID. Let's say you have this ID. Let's create three different materials, right? this will be blue and this will be white. Basically, it's a good exercise of practice for a good workflow. If every time you create whatever material for an object, you just select a color here. You pick whatever color, different color, like the color ID in 3D Max, the same thing, you know. And then you have these different colors here, and you can go here to your workbench, right? Workbench, and here in your workbench you go to render, so you see what is rendered in your workbench, and then you go for flat. You have the colors, and then you just hit render, which will be seconds. That's it. You have your colors, a color ID, right? So yeah, that's pretty much this. If you want to render all of them, if you don't need to worry about that, I'm gonna teach this now because it's very important. If you wanna do this all the time, go to workbench, go to workbench, and then press render twice. If you don't want to press render twice, right? You always can go here and duplicate your scene, right? You duplicate your scene, right, as a linked copy, so it really doesn't duplicate your scene, but it creates another scene and you can use another render engine, because Workbench is a different render engine. So you create another version of your render, right? And then let's create white color here. Let's define, for example, let's create another one. Okay, white color. We take this guy and we rename it white color. White color, right? And then we take this guy. This render layer it's rendering scene 1, right? We duplicate it. We press Shift D. We duplicate it. Oh shit! I'm not using the screencast. Oh, sorry guys. Sorry, my bad. Okay, you go here. And then press Shift D, right? And you have your you have another node. This node you define instead of scene 1, and then in scene 1, just scene, you are going to define the cycles render engine, right? Cycles. And scene 1, you are going to define the workbench. But the only difference is here is using for render, and the second layer is using for render. Okay, they changed it already because it was by default just render a single layer. So if you create another layer, you have to you used to have to put out this guy here. So it will render not just one layer but both layers, right? And then now you take your pass and oh, I had created the white color here, which is not what I want at all. I want to go to scene 1 and create my render pass here, my white color. So I create a white color, right? Press here, and then if I hit render, it's gonna render both scenes, cycles and workbench, and save here, right? Let's test. Okay, let's test it. and save the wire color as well. If we go there and check this out, passes, you see, it saves the render, it saves all the passes, you see, and it saves the wire color as well. So basically, you may instead of having the other structure, may you want to have this structure already with two scenes and separating the other scene for the wire color, right? Separating the scene 1 for the wire color, and you can even call it wire color. Wire color, it's called wire color. Okay, so you have your two scenes ready. Go here, save default, save startup, right? Go here, close Blender just for the sake of the test, and then you open Blender again. You're gonna be there? Hope so. Here you go. We have our structure already. It's just a matter of do whatever you want here, and that's it. That's all. It's gonna save everything you need, and I hope I can help you. I hope I will be able to help you on this guy. I wish this would be a little bit more easy friendly, not that much or something. There are some add-ons out there, but it's important to understand how the tool really works, right? And that's why I'm doing this video, and I hope it will be useful for you, and you don't be freaking out anymore with this. This is gonna be something past already. Okay, see you next video. Bye.